All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch and Learn. My name is Jeremy, and I will be hosting today. But I will go ahead and go over the usual things, and then we can get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to discuss. And we do have one pre-submitted question that I saw this morning, so we'll be going over that first with Marvin, and then we'll do any others. So if you have questions, please post them in the Q&A, and I'd be happy to get to them when we get a chance. All right. A couple things just real quick. Check out our YouTube channel. We've been posting content up there recently, so a lot of pretty useful things, things that I think a lot of people might get some uh, good use out of. So we have actually had quite a few things in the last week or so. So if you're curious, definitely go check those out. Some cool stuff about XML and JSON, um, like disk space post stuff. There's before and after save flows, lots of good stuff in there. So definitely check those things out. We've got our solutions marketplace. If you're curious about checking out any great applications you can try out, the decisions.com/events is where you can go if you want to sign up for the roadmap review. So if you want to keep an eye on what we have coming up, you can definitely track that. And then also, we do have a special guest on Thursday during Lunch and Learn this week. So Kristen Johnson is going to be showing us some cool stuff coming up in future updates for version 9, I think in 9.11, some future things. So if you're curious about that, definitely join Lunch and Learn on Thursday because Kristen's got some really cool stuff to show off. So um, without further ado, though, I'm gonna let you talk, Marvin, so you can explain what you asked about earlier, and then we can discuss.
Okay, we're trying to use a single point of, I'm not sure what you want to call it, a way to, whenever there's an error, wherever it may happen within any of our applications, we want a single location that we can log that information and present a form or something to tell the user, hey, something happened, we know about it, and just have them close the tab or window without them having access to the portal.
Okay.
We're in version 9, so we are using the project error handling,
Mm-hmm.
which calls what we're using a common location for our subflow.
Mm-hmm.
And that handles all the logging and everything. We were trying to use an inform of some sort and or a pop-up. Only thing we can get to work is a pop-up during debug.
Right.
And that's it. You know, if we use the run option or if we try and use a link in a URL, none of that returns anything. Except we get the, portal screen that says open portal. We don't want that.
Right. Right.
I mean, pop-up was just an option to try. I can at least use it to verify the data that's being built to present to the user, but ultimately
Right.
it's not our end.
Right. So I think so the first thing is I think some elements, at least in the default error handling, like in the common error handling project, some elements like a show pop-up, end forms, even like an end form session.
Right.
The problem with all of these is they rely on a user being like in the system because the end form session, the end form, a pop-up displays to the user that's currently running the flow. But the problem with the error handling is that the default error handling flow that gets set up in our projects in version 9, this is going to run asynchronously, which means technically
Okay.
the current user is system, right? And so now what is going to be displaying these end forms isn't actually going to be displaying to the end user, it's displaying it to technically system. So the user is not actually getting to see that. There's like workarounds sometimes where things like a show pop-up lets you specify which user actually receives it. Um, but that's static, not dynamic. There's not really a
Right.
way to make that dynamic.
Um, is there something within the local project where the error might happen within that error handler that we could say, hey, provide that user and so that they can, because I noticed in the um version 8, the error handler had some type of an assignment and
Hmm.
would have a assignment screen.
Right,
Will you do something like that without it's right now we have no way to tell the user, hey, something messed up and you need to close your screen.
right,
It just would just sit there. And that's not a good user interface.
right.
Maybe we're going at it wrong. I just it's we like the project error handling where it collects everything, whether it be a flow or an active form flow or whatever it might be. It captures all of that, but we have no way to tell the user something failed.
Right, right, right. You could definitely use an assignment. You can make assignments, you can set it so assignments will display for the user immediately. And like not have to go to their inbox. So it would like instantly display to the user.
Question, is James Cox on the,
Uh, I do not see his name on the list
okay,
at the moment.
I didn't know if he was going to make it or not. Okay. Um, can you show me what you're talking about
Yes.
then? About possibly using an assignment because we know who the initiating user was.
So if I have an assignment,
Uh-huh.
in assignment setup,
Right.
there is a setting called show assigned form right here. It says automatically show if assigned. By default, this is on suggest, which means if you get an assignment, it kind of like pops up here and says, "Hey, would you like to fill out this form right now?" Um, but you can also have it never display, or you can have it always. So if it's set to always, then as soon as this gets assigned, it'll appear as long as the user is open in decisions, which in your case, obviously they would because the error is happening as they're working in decisions or as
Right.
as they're submitting a process, right? It should appear for them instantaneously, and it appears almost as if you have like an in session form in your process, and it'll just appear
Right.
for them right away. Um, so that's just on the assignment setup uh, page for any assignment in a
Okay.
flow. So if you set this to always, you could have your error handling have an assignment that gets sent to the user that is working on it, perhaps, and then this would just make the assignment pop up. Um,
Okay.
the only thing with this is obviously it's an assignment. Clicking like the X in the corner of the assignment pop up is not going to complete the assignment. So you'd have to kind of be careful about that. Make sure that users are actually um, submitting the assignment,
Well,
clicking the button in the
I
corner and
guess,
stuff.
well, even if they click the X, we might want to have some kind of routine that says go clean up any assignments,
Mhm.
in that particular state. I'm just thinking out, just shooting from the hip here. Um,
Yes.
because, I mean, we have a form. We would just need to use, um, I'm grabbing that link.
But see here, it like instantly popped up for me, right? I didn't actually have to click on it. I didn't have to go to inbox. Didn't have to click the
Right.
suggestion. It just makes it pop up.
Um, this. So it sounds like, all right, so we do the assignment. Well, I guess it didn't copy it. Hold on a second. Well, did this the hard way. So if they hit the X and closed it, what would happen? Would they still see the portal screen? Or,
It should appear like in front of wherever they
okay,
were when they initiated it, right? Like if I hit the X,
okay,
it doesn't change the view. If I hit if I hit OK, it doesn't change the view, right? Nothing
okay,
about that changes. The one suggestion I would have to, if you go down this path, is I highly suggest setting an expiration date on these things, especially if it's not used to like actually send assignments. But
right.
you're right, make it expire. That way it can at least end, so it
Okay.
doesn't
Then
like
that way you
hang
don't
up
have,
and get stuck, right?
right,
And you can have this like calculate, compute sometime or
5
whatever.
minutes.
Yeah, something like that. That way it's at least a pop-up, they see it, they can acknowledge it and end it. And if for some reason they forget or they don't, it doesn't, halt up your system or fill up your system with assignments.
Right.
You can just have them expire and end.
Because, yeah, because all we're trying to do is give them the information that, hey, something happened. And we could wrap this assignment around our existing form that has all the information in it that's already been logged by the time it gets to this point.
Hmm.
And if they close it, then it closes. Okay, let me look into that in more
Hmm.
detail and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. Right. We've got a couple answers in the Q&A, so we're gonna go through those. Just keep in mind, everybody, if you have additional questions, please feel free to post them, and we'd be happy to discuss. Next question comes from Helmet. I'll give you the option to speak as well if you have anything to add, but let me read your question out loud for everybody. I'm building an application that concatenates security group names based on inputs to 5 fields on a form. Users would like to be able to dynamically change the order of the concatenation based on a string value that is read from a database. Without having to handle all the permutations, is there a way to accomplish this dynamically?
Hey, this one's a bit of a brain teaser, I think. Um, but I wanted to see what you'd think up or what was available. But I can also explain a little bit more in depth. So our security groups are like 5 string values, right? Separated by like a period or A underscore B underscore C underscore D underscore E, right? And that would be your name.
Hmm.
But what they'd like to do is based on a string value. So like we have a database column that says, A comma B comma C comma D comma E. I'm going to read that string value. I'm going to split the string based on the separator, and then I get the order A, B, C, D, and E. And then in my active form flow, I'll concatenate the name A, B, C, D, and E in that order. But what they'd like to do is be able to do something in the database where they write the string as A, B, C, E, and then D. So they switch those last two, right? And then in my active form flow, it reflects that same thing where I take that string that tells me the order, I bring it into my active form flow, I parse it out, I get the order A, B, C, E, and D, and then I concatenate my name based on that. Um, Obviously, I could put in steps that were different based on every conceivable order, right? I think it's like I don't know
Yeah,
what the permutation is, but
that's a lot for
it's
five
like, yeah, it's
strings.
five. Yeah, it's quite a few. So I was wondering, I know there are things like truth tables. I've even seen like a matrix rule. Like, I'm wondering if there's something that comes to your mind right away that would help you accomplish something like this.
Yeah. Um, hmm.
Or am I doing the impossible?
Is there, I guess maybe like how is there a vision for like how they would choose said order?
Yeah, so that's where the database value comes into play. So they wanted to be able to do all their configurations based on a table in a SQL database, right? So there are basically 3 rows in the configuration table. One row corresponds to the max character that the name can be. It's just an integer. One is the separator that we're talking about. So sometimes they might want to change the underscore to a period or the period to a comma or something. I don't know. And then there's a third row that dictates the order of the names, right? And in that row, they'd like to just be able to put, either a numerical identifier or just like a piece of string, right? Where they can say, I want value A, comma value B, comma value C, comma value D, comma value E, right? In that order, when you go into the active form flow and actually concatenate the values from the form input. So it is kind of a step where I have to take it from the database and then I have to parse it into, substrings, but that's not my issue. The issue is in the active form flow, right? Sometimes I want the inputs to be all in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or sometimes I want to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Just trying to think of the best way. There's some ways you could maybe consider like taking the your strings as a list. This is just the first thing that's popping in my mind. If anyone else on our team has an input, feel free to add. I'm just kind of
I promise this is not a coding interview question.
um first thing that so like comes to mind if you have like right, you have like a list here.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
basically how it is, the list of
right, the
strings.
coming in, you could utilize, you might be able to utilize like we've done things in some of our projects with like randomly choosing a number. Um, where like you would randomly choose something and then you would remove the item from the list. Um, like
Oh, I see.
remove item from list, where
Mm-hmm.
you could maybe take and you'd probably want to combine this with like an add item, something like this, where you could take, you say like something here would select one of your 5 items,
Mm-hmm.
add it to the list, so then that's the first item in your list,
In your
and
concatenated
then
list.
yep, and then remove that item. So like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say the first time it goes through, it removes number one because that's
Mm-hmm.
the one that you selected, right? Then it can go through again, and your selector would now say, what's the next item that I want to choose? I want you to choose 3, add
Mm-hmm.
3 to my list. So now 3 is the second item in your list. Remove 3 from my original list, and now it can choose between, 2, 4, 5, and
Yeah.
you can loop through them that way until you have your final list that has your order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the order they're in, and then that's what you can pull from to because it'll be this new list will have them in the order that you want
In
after
the
those
original order
choosing.
that was dictated.
So then,
Um,
you might need, I don't know, you might need something like, depending on how the data is coming in, reading like I don't know, like a string match or something
mm-hmm.
to see like what is the first item. Is it, if it's XYZ, maybe that's the truth table to say if it's what is the first item in the list. Maybe like a loop into a truth table. The truth table tells you A, B, C, D, or like, A, B, C, D, E,
Mhm.
adds the item to the list, then removes the item from the list, and then comes back. And now truth table assesses it again, something like that. It's not
Yeah. No, I see where you're going with
great, but
this. I see where you're going with that. Do you think the truth table would be beneficial here, or because I guess I personally never used the truth table, so you'd have to maybe show me a little bit about that. But yeah,
the truth table. I don't know if I have an example in it. Oh shoot, I forgot I had that running. Do I have a truth table? Wow, have
because
I
I
never made a
guess
truth table on Legend?
where I'm thinking about the truth table possibly being a little bit useful would be, I have the order of the values that I want, but the values themselves exist, in the inputs. And so the active form flow has to be able to reach out for the control specifically. So could I do something like that where I say, okay, this value is equal to this control, this value is equal to this control, this value is equal to this control. And then, based on those value, the order of the values, I kind of get the right output for each one. I don't know if I'm making sense.
So with the truth table, you basically pick based on the inputs, you pick a rule, right? So your rule would need to like assess which of the items it's like in your list it's trying to check.
Mm-hmm.
And this would just be like whatever your key or whatever that you're looking at that's telling just the order
Yeah,
is most likely just going to be like A, B, C, D, E,
right.
right? And so this one's just going to read is the string A, B, C, D, or E. And
Mm-hmm.
then, the input would be expecting like the first item to read if that string is A, B, C, D, E. And then you can output pretty much anything, right? You have
I could
your
possibly output that form control possibly.
Right. You have any data type. So if you can, create some whatever data type that you want, you can find user created ones. I'm assuming I don't remember what they're called.
It's called form control. Uh,
That might be limited to being on a form
let me
entity
see.
though.
It's called form control data. Yeah. So yeah, it might only be available in the actual active form
Yeah,
flow is what you're
that
saying.
might only be available in a form control though.
Yeah, that's fine.
So maybe that specific you might not be able to go, but depending on where your data is coming from, like, you could have this just be like strings, and then your string data could come from like that gets input into your truth table if this is in an active
Mm-hmm.
form flow. And that can just come from the value as input data could come from the value of your item in your form control.
Okay.
Right. So like, this is, form control value A,
Uh-huh.
right? That's your like string
And
that's or
I'd be
whatever
passing
that's
one value in at a time because we'd probably be looping through this
yeah,
truth table.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right? And then this can actually say like, because I'm not using this as the input for my rule, I'm using
Uh,
this as the input for my for what's going to actually get output here to make sure that that's the value that gets placed in my list first.
I
And
see.
then
So
and
you
then it runs, but then loops back to my truth table, checks and says, hey, okay, now what's the next one that I want to grab? Oh, I want you to grab 4. 4 is going to output form control value D.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, so I would input all 5 of the form controls into this truth table, and then I would also basically give it the order or the key that I was listing one at a time,
Yep.
and it would okay, this is exactly what I was looking for because I would need dynamic inputs and dynamic outputs, basically.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can do that. You can do both of those with this.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah, I think this is right up my alley. Thank you so much.
Of course. And that'll save you also from developing 100 permutations.
Yeah, what is it? 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. All right. We got another question from Umar. I need to know what is the best way to copy a rule set in the same project.
Yep, there's no copy option there on the rule set. It's just a move option there. There's no copy option. I'm on 9.6, so that may be a bit different for you, but let's see.
Yeah, let me create a rule set real quick.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting. Hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
never
today
noticed
only
that
we
there wasn't a copy option.
yeah, so today only we faced this problem and we had to basically, make some changes, and the only way that we could do is like, actually recreate everything from scratch.
Mhm.
Uh, we kind of know one hack. Okay, can we?
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, let's
So
see if
that's
this works then.
yeah, I'm wondering if it's possible to maybe copy and move a rule from one rule set to another. To maybe the whole
Mm.
rule set itself you can't copy.
Well, so last time when we wanted to do something, so at that time, months ago, we like, used one hack, which is like doing export import. So we exported and then we re-imported the rule set, and that kind of worked. But then again, there was always a chance that it could conflict with the original rule set because the names and everything was same. So it
Right.
was not again like very clean. But at least for like huge rule sets, probably that is one of the options. But I think it would be pretty nice if you could probably create a ticket or something for allowing the copy functionality.
Yeah, I wonder. I can maybe I might have to just ask and see if there's a reason why it's not there. I don't know if
Sure.
there's like a certain limitation for why you wouldn't be able to copy a rule set. Um, so yeah, maybe I'll have to ask and just see if I hear
Yeah.
a response I can get back. And depending on the
Okay.
result of that, maybe that's just something we can put a ticket in to have added in the future.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because
Because
I
we
I
have
can
copy
see.
option available for everything else except this.
Yes, yeah. And I can see like even if copying this and then moving it to another rule set would work, a rule set that's very large, that would be
Oh yeah.
absolutely unrealistic. Um,
And there is one more issue uh, with respect to, at least again, this is I'm talking about 9.6. It may have
mhm,
been fixed now. So we have like within the rules, right? We have the, I think, priority or some kind of a property which defines in which order you want to consider the rule execution, right?
mhm,
So it doesn't follow that. It only follows in which order you have actually created the rules within the rule set, not really the order that you give explicitly.
you change these numbers on the side.
Yep, yes, I did. So again, 9.6 based issue I'm talking about. So there we had a situation where we had one catch-all rule. Okay. So let's say you have like
Mhm,
10, 12 rules that okay, which are like following certain pattern. And then if your particular input doesn't match with any of the above given rules, then it would go into the final catch-all rule, right? So what happened, like initially we had, let's say, 12 rules. So we added the like catch-all rule as a 13th rule. Then we wanted to add one rule which was like, not actually after the catch-all, but obviously before the catch-all. So we
yeah,
changed the ordering of all of them and made sure that the catch-all rule was having like 99 order number or something like that, which is way bigger than anything. But still it was following the original creation order. So what we had to do again, it was a hack, was like we had to delete the catch-all rule and re-add the catch-all rule. So what
right.
it did was because we created it the latest, then the order was fine.
Interesting. Yeah, because you're supposed to be able to reorganize these numbers, and it should change. I mean,
So
it
you are still,
shifts too.
yeah, but you are still doing it on the right hand side, right? I'm talking about the so let's say you have a one rule set, right? Now create like different subgroups under this.
Got it.
Why is it
Are
not
you
showing over here?
are you using like a template with instances or conditional rule set?
No,
Like one of
conditional
those
rule
other
set.
ones? Conditional
Conditional,
rule
yeah.
set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that may also make a difference. Yeah, so let's say like, yeah, option one, option two, and catch all, something like that.
Right. So you have like rule 1, rule 2, and then you have like your catch-all. And then if you added another one, you're saying that it's now stuck behind your catch-all and you don't have these to change. I'm unfortunately on 910 right now, so I don't.
No, that's fine. Let's see whether you know what is the behavior here. I am able to change the number from here, but it doesn't respect that number
It
change.
doesn't respect it when it actually runs.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Interesting. Okay. Let me see. Keep forgetting that I have that. I need to turn it off. Actually, don't think I will. Okay, so those are the default ones. Then it rules 1, 2, catch-all, rule 3. So let me change the order. Okay, so now my catch-all should be at the end. Rule 1, rule 2. This looks like it does respect the order. At least according to this, it looks like it did run rule 3, and then it ran the catch-all after I changed the order.
So go back to your rule set. And actually on the left hand side, add two more.
2 more
Basically, that's what I was
conditions?
talking about. Yeah, so at the same level of condition 1.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you're saying like
Yeah,
it's these that
yes,
aren't running in
yes.
the order. Oh, I think that
Actually,
would
it
need to
went
be.
inside the condition 1,
Yeah, I
but
think
yeah,
we
we
need to do
wanted
that.
it at the root level. So imagine like, this condition 1 is what we are comparing. And if my input doesn't match with condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, then I go into catch all.
Right. So I see. So
So
you're
here
saying
also,
this
yeah,
is the order that it matters.
yes, correct. And I think it also has its own some kind of a property. Probably if we go into that set name and description, there I think we get something. It has some well, can you right click on condition 1 and go from there? Yeah. Yeah, from here. Or maybe personalize,
Now,
more
personalized is
personalize.
just going to be
Yeah.
the
Yeah, here, order and homepage.
this.
Yeah, this is what I was like, at least tried with folder order.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I think this just affects like the visual folder. I don't think it's going to change how it runs. I see what you mean
Okay.
though. Like if I wanted this to be 2, and then I wanted this to be 1. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna run. Anything else? Or I guess I don't really have conditions set or rules within them. I don't think it changes it. If the order matters, then it should put that first. Yeah, I don't think it actually changes the order. Yeah, it might. I don't know if there's a setting, at least not at the moment, that allows you to change the order that the conditions run in.
I mean, yeah, because imagine like, if I have this scenario, then I mean, ignore, what we were trying to do, right? If I have this kind of a situation where I have like control rule set for each condition, like condition 1, condition 2, condition 3, depending on my input. And if my input doesn't match any one of them, I need to go into the catch all.
Mm-hmm.
So if tomorrow I add something new, let's say condition 11, which was earlier I had 10, then I had like catch all, and now I'm adding condition 11, then because my catch all rule is like in between, it is going to, because in that rule I'm not having anything. It is a catch all, like because it went nowhere above, that's why I came here. So in that case, it will just, return from there itself, and condition 11 will not even get executed.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. It's another thing that I'd have to inquire if there's a reason why these orders don't change. But maybe just a general solution here is if you have a rule or a condition that is contingent on all other conditions being met,
Mhm.
and it's uh
Not being
and
met.
any right, yeah, like that hinges on the outcomes of all these other conditions, you
Mhm.
might at least for scalability, for the possibility of adding new conditions down the line, you might be better off keeping this almost separate and using that like after, like almost like two rule sets, and
Okay.
using it after the fact so that you can at least take the output of this rule set, and now down the line, regardless of how many
Hmm.
additional conditions you add, you can at least pass that output into your second
Okay.
rule set to then use as your
Hmm.
catch-all if that's the case. Because yeah, it just seems like there isn't like I think that
Hmm.
just is necessary. I think that's only like the folder order, not necessarily how anything gets run, or
Execution
clearly it's
order.
not how it actually executes. Because I don't think that's
Hmm.
at least not the main intention behind the conditional rule set. They're just meant to kind of run conditions, not necessarily run conditions in a specific order.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you are saying. That may actually require us to create a wrapper flow actually, because
Yep.
then we may be using this in multiple places, right? So we definitely can't go and like change everywhere else. So if
Mm-hmm.
we extract this out into a wrapper flow which does both of those things, then that may work
Mm-hmm.
probably. Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. At
If I
least, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
might, if I might suggest one more thing on the first point, we're trying to copy this. Can you make a copy of the rules folder?
The whole?
Yeah, the whole folder. Make a copy of that. I have a feeling it's going to copy this that's inside of it. Just give it a different name.
Hmm. Okay, that's fine. At least something to play with. What happened?
It didn't.
What happened
How
there?
did it take the place?
It it
It
replaced the old folder but
oh
copied
That
everything
man.
in it.
I've never seen it replaced. That's kind of crazy. You did get two.
But I didn't miss a setting,
Can
right?
you refresh? It may be a UI issue rendering.
I hope not.
Interesting. Okay,
I
that's
tried
weird.
this on my local and it didn't replace it.
Did you copy the folder one more time, Jeremy? and save at root. Make sure you check that box.
Yeah.
And then try it. And I'm wondering if now it won't do it because it has to make it in a different location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Get that.
Okay.
Then not saving it at root, I guess, overrode it for some reason. Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, if you copy the entire folder that your rule set is in, it will copy the rule set for you.
So then we will have to move this to the project. Like,
Yeah,
let's
then
say if you
you
want to
could
move
move the
this into
folder afterwards. I can move
so
this back
move
in if I
to-
wanted.
Yeah, under lunch and learn.
I can
So
put it
in
back under
that
this
case,
if I wanted to.
so
It
for
would look
example,
good.
yeah, let's do one thing. Cancel this and like one of those third copy rules which you have at the root level. Can we rename one of them just to so that we know what we are dealing with? There should be in personalization. Yeah, 2, 3, whatever. Yeah. So now just move that to copy of rules if you could. Just this one. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So we have a
In there.
workaround.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
I'll
This
still
will
inquire
help.
about the on the rule set level itself, but yeah, at least we know we can just copy the whole folder.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, whoever gave it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gregory, for thinking of that.
Yeah, thank you. I'll drop off now. Bye-bye.
All right. And we currently have one more question. Well, 15 minutes-ish left in our call, but if anyone else comes up with anything, let us know. But Marvin did ask, how is forced order implemented on reports? And can you please clarify what you're referring to here as forced order? Marvin, if you're there, you're muted if you're still there. I'm not quite sure what you mean by forced order on reports. So if you want to clarify, I can try to help, but I'm not 100% sure what you're looking for here.
Well, I was just suggesting that to help with the earlier question about the order of the fields. That's all.
Oh, okay.
It was just a thought.
Got it.
Side thought.
Okay. All right. Well then, we will go ahead and I'm not seeing any other questions. We'll go ahead and end for the day then. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for asking questions. We've still got Gregory leading tomorrow, and again, Kristen will highlight an upcoming thing for 9.11. So if you're curious, come join. Depending on timing and how long she takes, we might still be able to take any questions. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work since it's the first time we're having a product team special guest on Lunch and Learn. But we'll be happy to play it by ear and do what we can to help out. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for all the questions. We will see you all tomorrow with Gregory for Lunch and Learn. Have a great day, everybody.